Today, we are excited to welcome Marty Uhle. Marty has served as president and CEO of Community West Foundation since January of 2020, following a decade of service on the foundation's board of directors. Before assuming this role, Marty held two concurrent nonprofit leadership positions: superintendent of Lutheran East and West High Schools, and executive director of Messiah Lutheran's Piersdorf College Loan Fund, where he oversaw the distribution of interest-free college loans to Lutheran students. Earlier in his career, Marty spent many years in senior leadership roles in banking and electronic payments. Marty currently serves on the board of trustees for Cleveland Clinic, Fairview, and Lutheran Hospitals. He previously served on the boards of Urban Community School and Wittenberg University, and is a proud graduate of the Leadership Cleveland class of 2022. Please welcome Marty.
Good morning. Thank you, Rachel. I had lots of friends on the call here. Beth Graham, long time no see. Good to see you on here. It's a pleasure to be here to speak with you about our campaign that we ran. There's so many things that are going on in the nonprofit community, and it was an honor to be asked to join this forum. I've been told I have about 10 minutes. So my coworker, Maria Estes, our Vice President of Marketing and Communications, will drive the slides, and I'll try to get through them here in a timely manner. So fueling the front lines was our task. Keep the good going is a mission, and we'll talk about it in a minute. I thought I should level set what is Community West Foundation, and we really are a funder downtown, the west side in Lorain County, and we're focused on the health and well-being of our community because we were birthed out of the Fairview and Lutheran Hospital foundations when those hospitals joined the Cleveland Clinic about 30 years ago. We have three legs of our business. We work with those two hospitals still very closely. The west side of Cleveland, we're raising money, we're doing all kinds of things with the hospitals. We also work with individuals who are philanthropic and organizations that we support who need and like to use our services to invest their savings in their endowments. And then maybe more importantly to this call, we award grants to nonprofit organizations providing basic needs. That basic needs grant making, if we talk about it today, was $3.1 million last year. The actual number came in at 103 agencies that we supported. And important to the call, we also raised about 1.6 million additional dollars from our donor community that went to those same grantees. So we are always trying to add fuel to the agencies who are doing the hard work. Our funds are limited by nature of our endowment, but everything that I try to do in the community is to add to the support that we can provide. And so last year that was very successful. We got more than 50% increase in our ability to make grants. Overall, from all three of those sources, the foundation last year distributed about $13 million to the community that we're serving. We are a long-term funder. We don't make multi-year grants, but we stick with our grantees if they're doing great jobs in the work that we are trying to support. Many of our agencies have been with us for more than a decade. We don't view it as a transaction. Those of you that we're providing funds to who are on this call hopefully have seen me or my team pretty often. We don't view it as a transaction. We hate to deliver checks in the mail after we've done all this work getting to know each other. And I think more importantly, when I took this job, the board kept asking me, what's your grant making philosophy? I couldn't answer that question for about a year because I didn't have one. But what I knew was the mission at Community West wouldn't change. What I did change pretty dramatically is we became almost exclusively a general operating funder. I view it as our secret sauce here is that we work with executive directors and he or she knows best what that organization needs in a changing environment. So let's give them the support and the ability to make those investments where needed. So almost every grant that we give is for general operating. So why keep the good going? Why did we do this campaign? We all know about federal funding cuts. It's lunchtime. I don't even want to bring it up. Where you guys are hopefully are enjoying your lunch out there. Big impact. It started a year ago. We're in year 2. The funding gaps were in the hundreds of millions of dollars across Cuyahoga and Lorain County per month. And philanthropy in no way could fill this gap. Grantees that were affected by these cuts were also affected the other way during the prior administration. The billions and billions of dollars that flowed out of the prior administration caught us off guard in the nonprofit community, led to many decisions that were being made about what to do with that money. If that money was used to hire people or build a program, then it was very disruptive when it stopped overnight. Those that used it to beef up their capital assets, their physical things, those are a little longer lasting, and we didn't see cuts. But all grantees were affected. Even if you didn't think you were getting federal funds, it turns out the state was giving you money from their federal funds and vice versa. So what could we do when we're in this blessed position as a funder? Maria on my team, Twist Creative, launched Keep the Good Going as a public education campaign. We really wanted to highlight the work that we saw our grantees doing. We have the ability and we're paid to be grant makers. We look at all of these essential safety net organizations. We're blessed with a marketing budget and a talented team. We put this campaign together and made it an option for our grantees to participate in, and 60 of them signed up very quickly. You see there our logo and tagline. Looks really good on a t-shirt, by the way, if anybody got one. They're good t-shirts. Keep the Good Going landing page was developed to help our grantees with a toolkit and how to get easy access to these elements. We have a robust social media budget and plan and teams here at Community West, and we held a training. It was fantastic. Everybody came here to the office and looked at the toolkit, how to put badges on social media, how to use all of these efforts to post their ads, get this information out there. I particularly like the subset of nonprofits do that. Nonprofits can get painted sometimes into the corner, and we wanted to point out safe housing, coats, food, mental health. Nonprofits do that. Don't think about this funding as just food. There's so many things that go on, and of course, food is critical. So we wanted to coordinate those efforts. We can see on the next slide how that all did. We picked the fourth quarter as our time frame. We had some fun influencers. The people on this screen, I knew 2 of the 3 anyhow. That's Ahmad from the Cavs and Chris Ronayne from the county, and a really funny woman who calls herself the Elder Millennial Mom. And she posted a lot about our campaign. She's very active in the community, but Chef Rocco Whalen, 112,000 followers from the people that helped us get this news out on their social media. Then we did what we do. So we went out and did media interviews. We already have relationships with these places. I talk for a living, so they invite me on, and I do a lot of this. We had 12,000 visits to the landing page for Keep the Good Going. You see the number of impressions in the millions, live interviews on the places you see there. And in that short time, we raised $62,000 specifically in our landing page that goes into that 1.6 million that we were able to distribute to our grantee partners. 100% of all of our donations, and in particular this campaign, go to our grantees. We did not do this to put into our endowment. We did not recover our costs of marketing or the paid media that we did. All of this was done to support our grantee partners. That's me on the Sound of Ideas with Helen Forbes Fields from the Y and Andy Traers from May Dugan and the wonderful Stephanie Haney. She's a great interviewer. I recommend that show to everybody. Now what we're hoping to do is build on this campaign. Maria orchestrated a survey of our grantees for feedback. We heard a number of things. One of them was, this is the normal time we're raising money, so could we try it at different times during the year? Most of our grantees saw increases in their web traffic. We are going to repeat the campaign, adjust the timing, react to what we learned from our grantees, and continue this momentum. It is the drip, drip, drip that you have to do on social media. These things are not designed to, well, not designed to be a viral moment. I sure would love it. If we could get thousands of people to give us hundreds of dollars, in a day, that'd be wonderful. But we plan to keep the good going by promoting our grantees and providing them the fuel here. One of the other assets that I didn't mention is that many videos were made, very professional videos for our grantees, and those were provided back to them so that they can use them in their social media if they're not in a position to have as large a marketing budget as we are able to put together. So that's 11, 12 minutes of keep the good going. I, of course, could talk about the foundation forever. We love supporting our grantees, health and well-being. The 6 areas of our basic needs are defined in the book of Matthew. People coming out of prison, people who are hungry, people who are refugees and immigrants and strangers to our community, mental health, physical health. And the more we can do together to support those efforts, it makes the whole community stronger. So those are my prepared remarks, Rachel. If anybody has questions, I'm pretty good at trying to answer them.
Thank you, Marty. So let's jump in. Can you share some initial success stories from the campaign and the Community Impact Fund from those who received funding? What came from that?
Oh boy, we get so many great stories here. We had a group that was able to buy a van, and that van is being used to transport people in the community. I had another group bought a used car, and you can't believe the impact of a car if you're in a community that is supporting each other. So that car is taking someone to the doctor, and then it's being used by a neighbor to go to the store or rush someone to the hospital to have a baby. And that's a true story. That happened. Other pieces that we're seeing are a little more subtle. If it's not a direct piece, it is visits to the website. One of the things I've had to get comfortable with this job is that we need to win in 10s and 20s and 40s. We're not solving hunger, but if 50 people got fed at a pantry that we were able to support with funds, that's 50 people who weren't hungry tonight. Now, hopefully you multiply that times dozens of pantries, but we do a lot of work. The people on this call, I'm looking at many of them here, we're winning in 10s and 20s and 50s. And so, $2,000 sometimes can go a really long way.
How much, if any, direct advocacy or lobbying to federal and state governments does the foundation engage in to restore funding to nonprofits?
As a funder, you wouldn't be surprised to learn that we fund advocacy groups. We do not directly lobby. There are rules that are around that, and I don't want to get out of my lane here by trying to talk on the legal side, but we choose to fund the Mental Health Advocacy Coalition, the Northeast Ohio Coalition for the Homeless, the mental health boards in both Lorain and Cuyahoga County. We do talk with frequently Chris Ronayne in the county, met with Mayor Bibb a number of times just to talk about the grantees and support we would love to see there. But we do not, as a foundation, directly hire lobbyists or go to the Hill.
Marty, you mentioned the idea of kind of winning in tens and 20s and 40s. How do you evaluate the outcomes of the grants you give? How do you set success metrics?
That's a good question. We're in this space of basic needs. What is a success factor for funding the homeless shelter? 260 women slept last night safely at Norma Hare. There are people that I meet who talk about, is that a success? Or are you just providing, Band-Aids here and you're not really helping those people? I would disagree. So some success is very hard to look at, but when we get into groups that have transitional housing, we've got lots of groups that are providing housing for people who've recovered from addiction, recovered from homelessness, and they're now working. And those stories get to be a little more newsworthy, I think, than providing food, providing shelter. When we work with a group that is able to place 90% of their residents in permanent housing 90 days after they get into their program, huge success. The Home for Every Neighbor here in Cuyahoga County, and Cleveland in particular, we're funding all the agencies that are working with Home for Every Neighbor. And that someone on this call will know the specific number, but I'd say it's approaching 200 individuals who are now in housing that's being paid for, and that survived this last Cleveland budget. I know they're working on the Cleveland budget again this month. So it's across the range, but it is not as much of a science here at our foundation, given the basic needs that we're supporting.
Well, in supporting the basic needs, all help lead to the bigger systems change. So it's an all, not an or, when it comes to that type of funding.
Yeah, great point.
You mentioned that you really build relationships with those you fund. Can you talk about some of the activities that you engage with and how you support your grantees?
Yeah, a lot of my fellow funders don't fund events. We choose to. We appear, we'd like to be out at fundraisers. We'd like to participate in a golf outing, participate in a night at the races. My wife should be somewhere on my wall with a halo around her head. She and I are doing 40 to 50 of these things a year, and they're all a joy. My team participates in that at various levels. We try to be present. So things that are being done outside of the work hours that are joys for our grantees, we try to be there. I think it's a very important way to meet board members, et cetera. I see my two grant makers are on the call today. Sean and Maureen, though, are really doing the detailed site visit work. They are out at the grantees. They're in the trenches. We're down at the farm. We're out at the food pantry. We're in the homeless shelter. We're in prison. So supporting our grantees with a grant, with more money from our community funds, with participation in their community events that are outward facing, and then really doing the hard work of vetting the business. I view our grant makers as advocates for the grantees. When they go into the grants committee, they are your advocate. It's not our money, it's the board's money. And so it's our job to present your case as clearly and concisely as possible once we've decided we would like to participate with you. So it's sort of all around. The way we do grant making is not academic. It is very much in the actual site of service.
And how might you be collaborating with other foundations across Greater Cleveland?
That's actually a theme of 2026 for us. Our first real outreach in collaboration occurred during COVID when the COVID Rapid Response Fund was stood up with an amazing grant and support from the Cleveland Foundation. The Cleveland Foundation got that started, and really for the first time in Community West history, we were able to side by side fund issues that were being identified by fellow funders. As we've matured past that, we've purposefully built funding collaboratives, and we participate now. I'm very excited about the Greater Cleveland Funders Collaborative that is emerging from the trail behind that COVID Rapid Response Fund. They've gone through a lot of iterations, but I'll be attending my first meeting on March 3rd of that group. And it is a pleasure to be in the room with other funders. We all have our constraints, mission, geography, available unrestricted funds, but together we can make a difference. We also are one of the rare funders that manages to find our way to Lorain County. If there's other funders on the call, there's beautiful things in Lorain County. Please come help us. There are 5 funders in Lorain County, and we get together pretty regularly to look at emerging issues for Lorain residents.
Well, and Marty, as a Lorain County resident, I thoroughly appreciate the work that you do in that county.
I didn't know that. Great.
So can you give a little bit of insight for those who might not be familiar with the Greater Cleveland Funders Collaborative as kind of what the goals are and the intent for the collaborative?
Well, as I said, I'm going to my first meeting in a few weeks, but Kate Ingersoll is leading one leg of their strategy, and Sean Harris, one of our grant makers, has been participating for the foundation and will continue to do so. The pillar, though, is aligned along basic needs, and Sean is on the call. Am I misrepresenting that, Sean, for the pillar?
No, you're spot on. It's aligned basic needs funding, basically surfacing emerging needs, knowing that we're all talking to different people and just making sure that we're all aware of what's going on and where we can, walking in the same direction and marching to the same tune.
Great. Any leaders' lunch, Rachel? You wouldn't get truth out of me if I didn't call on my team. There's a lot to keep up with here, and I have a great team. So thanks for jumping in there, Sean.
Marty, over the years, how has the Community West Foundation remained nimble to be responsive to what's happening in the community with its funding?
Yeah, our greatest asset is our unrestricted endowment. Whenever I see my friends at the Cleveland Foundation, my internal joke is we're their little brother's cousin. Like we're as small to them as that might sound, but we have almost all of our assets are unrestricted. So our board gets to set our mission, and we can very quickly react to that. I'm also blessed with a board that has provided resources to me that allow me to react when something happens without needing to call together the board. We can replace a boiler at a group home that goes out in an afternoon. We can replace the van at NEOC that crashed, out doing outreach, and they can buy another one the next week. We can jump in and do these things. We also have donors who want to support that. We get a lot of donations that are designated as area of greatest need as determined by Marty. And it is an honor to be able to use those funds. And we pride ourselves on very rapidly responding to things within our limits of how much we have.
As you look ahead, what trends, themes, challenges do you see down the road coming for nonprofits in the funding landscape?
When I talk with executive directors, and I talk with many of them, I suddenly am a lot older than they are. And I've been through a lot of these cycles. The 99 crash, the '08 recession, the 2022 issues with COVID. Every executive director has got to have a list of what is the core thing that we must do. And then what are the things that we would like to do? Some of the like to do's got a lot of funding during the last administration. The must do's are the things that we have to concentrate on. And when we talk with grantees now for a grant, we're working very hard to understand the 12-month outlook of their finances. I think, Rachel, if I could point out anything that has really happened new to us, is having to look at financials with more of the eye of an auditor, because suddenly they're a little less definitive when you have a grant from a federal or state or local agency. So we've had to be more careful, as have the grantees, on projecting what's available. That was not the case 5 years ago. If you had a federal grant, we check the box. That's golden. So that to me is the biggest hurdle, is all of a sudden financial controls, the discipline, the working with your board and your committees to have a budget that's real. That really wasn't what everyone had to do as much for the last 5 years. And frankly, it doesn't make us that happy to have to be putting on an auditor's hat. I love auditors, but we have to look at it much more closely on the financial side. And we've seen some agencies that are just not making it. So I would urge everyone on the call that has a board, make sure you have some financial professionals on that board who are willing to come in and review your spending policies, your budgeting procedures, even your reconcilement of your checking account is now going to be under scrutiny by funders.
And as the technology in the world continues to advance, have you found any use for AI in your grant making?
I'd say we're very nascent. We're, I think, much better at letters we write and at some of the presentations we do, kind of giving them a co-creator work with AI. But I suspect that in the very near future, AI will be doing some initial financial crunching for us. If an 18-page audit can be fed in and give us a quick review, I think that would help. But we're not using a rubric or a scoring methodology for our grant approvals yet. So I think AI will more emerge on our communications and the awareness building we do in the community, at least in this coming year.
We have time for one final question. Marty, as you look over your leadership journey, what has been one of your top leadership lessons that has stayed with you?
Boy, I got a lot of scars on my back, Rachel. I've earned them all. Anytime it's a $50,000 problem, I put a scar on my back. But the 40 plus years I've been doing this, it's all about the team. You got to have a strong team, and you need a succession plan for your major players. If you're able to have the luxury of looking down the road so that when someone does leave your team, hopefully you were in conversation about that and you have an ability to back it up. All about the teams. I've never done any job all by myself, but when you get into leadership for the last 30 or 40 years, everybody that I reflect back on were the very talented people I was blessed to work with.
Well, Marty, we thank you and your entire team for all of the work and the impact that you are having in Northeast Ohio, and thank you for joining us today.